Welcome to Geological Shop Talk. In this podcast, we bring you roughly 20 to 25 minutes of practical clinical methods, perspectives, and advice that has its work boots on. Listen in for clinical gems that you can begin to investigate the next time that you walk into clinic. Additionally, visit the show notes page for supporting materials from this week's guest on Shop Talk. All right, friends, roll up your sleeves. Let's get to work. This episode of Shop Talk is brought to you by LASA OMS, your clinic's partner in wellness. Later in the show, listen for a special offer from LASA to help you with all the transitions your patients face. The information shared on this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. Always consult a qualified licensed healthcare professional before making any decisions about your health or treatment. The host and guests are not responsible for any actions taken based on the content of this podcast. Today in Shop Talk, I'd like to spend a little time talking with you about cultivation. We often talk about cultivation as an important part of being a practitioner. And as you're listening to this, perhaps you'll find yourself in agreement that cultivation, developing who we are, it's an important aspect of practicing acupuncture. I'd like to take a moment now to invite you to think about the first three things that come to mind when you think about cultivation in service of being a better practitioner. Pause here for just a moment. Don't think too hard about it. Just notice the first three things that pop into your mind. I suspect the things that just came to mind, either there are things that you're doing or things that you think you should be doing. And I wonder how many of you came up with running a business on your short list of cultivative practices. I found in the years that I've had the good fortune to practice acupuncture that running my own practice has been instrumental in keeping me honest, showing me where my blind spots are and where I'm fearful, and perhaps most in particular, where I'm unskilled or I'm clumsy. I found that running my own business requires me to be accountable in ways that I could easily avoid if I was an employee, and that the residual issues that I've had with money, power, and authority from my youth, they've shown up in countless ways in my clinical work until I realized that money was not inherently bad, but rather my lack of ability to make it. It colored my attitude toward it. That appropriate power abdicated is actually a kind of misuse of power, and that authority is not always corrupt or self-serving. There are those places where, because of our education, because of our experience, we carry a certain authority, and how we carry that and what we do with it, that makes all the difference. Running a business is not something separate from the practice of medicine. This might be one of the biggest learnings that I've had over the years. I thought the most important thing was learning to be a good practitioner, like being good in clinic, like knowing my clinical stuff. For a long time, I thought running a practice was a sideline. It was the thing that, you got to do this so I can do the other thing, i.e. having a clinical practice. But it turns out running a business is not at all separate from the practice of medicine. It's actually an integrated aspect of the clinical work, and it's helped me to remove the false assumption that business and medicine were two separate things. Just like we see the mind and the body as a connected whole, the practice of medicine and the business of medicine, it's actually an integrated whole. Having a business will at some point lead you to your uncomfortable blind spots. It'll put you dead in the crosshairs of your fears. Trust me, I know this. Running a business will ask you to be accountable to yourself and to others with an honesty that at times you're not sure that you got. And it'll show you the attitudes, beliefs, and misconceptions that are sorely in need of an update, and all too easily glossed over with the thought of, I hate business and I'm no good at it and I shouldn't have to do this and I wish I could just practice medicine and not have to muck with business. But I found that there is a lot in this world that I hated. And I hated it, maybe first and foremost, because I wasn't good at it. What's more, I wasn't willing to learn. I haven't found it very easy to look at personal deficiency dead in the eye and decide to own it or do something about it. Which is why I think it is indeed true that as an acupuncturist, we need to attend to our self-cultivation, absolutely, because many of the obstacles that are in the way of a successful practice, we put them there ourselves. I want to take a glimpse at a few that have been my teachers over the years. These are mostly in the form of questions, because I find that questions are a lot more useful than answers a lot of the time, because the problem with answers is that you stop questioning and you stop looking to see what else might be there. So I hope that you'll find these questions I have here to be helpful in your ongoing inquiry. So first, let's talk about success. It's a big one, isn't it? Success. Ooh, a lot of us, I suspect, have some real emotional juice around that one. So what about success? What does success look like to you? Does success have a money goal? Is there a social good goal, a kind of status that you're hoping others will grant to you? Does success mean that you've got a kind of acceptance in your family or your friend group? And can you name what would be around you, what your life would look like when success has arrived? What does it feel like? What does success for you feel like? What are the emotions that you would constantly live within? What do your relationships look like? And what do they feel like? And maybe even more to the point, how would you sleep different if you had success? What feelings that are troublesomely present now would be diminished or maybe even absent if you had the feelings that go with success? And money, what about money? How much do you need? Is there an arrived number, a number that says, this is enough? Have you sat down with a spreadsheet and run the numbers? And if you have, how did you get to that number? How do you know it's accurate? Maybe even more to the point, because we have to live with ourselves and who we think we are. How do you feel about having the amount of money in the bank or regularly being generated by your practice that you feel like you really need? Again, what is the amount that's enough? And if you had that, how would others who you care about feel about you having that kind of a financial situation? When I first started practicing medicine, I thought, well, Chinese medicine, it can treat anybody, it can treat anything, and I should be able to do that. I've come to find that it's very helpful to know who are the people that you want to work with. Not the people that you think you should work with, but who are the people who actually light you up when they walk into their office? Is there a kind of person that when you see their name on your daily schedule, you feel your stomach drop out a little bit, or you start feeling a little bit anxious? And likewise, are there people when you see their name, you're excited to see them? It makes a difference when you have a practice that you feel good within, and to know that you're serving the kinds of people that you like to serve. And again, maybe you think that you should be capable and willing to serve anybody who walks into your office. That, after all, is what Sun Simyao suggests we do. We should treat anybody, regardless of condition, regardless of finance, regardless of situation. It's a nice image, but I'm not sure that it's actually the best use of my time and skill. I've discovered that there are some folks, I'm pretty good at helping them. Others, even establishing some kind of rapport, it doesn't go so well. If you've got a passion for a certain crowd, then you're likely to be able to serve them pretty well. You know, in marketing, they say, if your product is for everybody, then you've got a nondescript commodity, something that's probably made by the lowest cost producer overseas. It means that you're in a race to the bottom. And I'm not sure that any of us really want to win the low-cost, low-value Olympics. Think for a moment about a product or a service that you're happy to spend your time and your money on. Maybe it's a class you take or a restaurant you love, maybe clothing that makes you happy in your skin. Are you thinking about the money that you spend, or are you thinking about the experience that that money has enabled you to have? We don't trade money for things. We trade money for value. And I know for myself, all too often, I have thought that people spend their money for acupuncture. Really, they're spending their money on the value of what they receive from you and your work. So with that in mind, I invite you to take some time after this little shop talk and consider the value that your patients receive from their perspective. So often we're focused on what we do or the techniques we know and are comfortable using. It's all important, of course, but in the cultivative aspect of business as part of your practice, it's really helpful to understand the value of what your patients are receiving from their point of view. It takes a bit of empathy on our part to understand that. I'll be exploring more about creating a practice that is a unique reflection of you with Brenda Lee on Saturday, June the 24th. This will be a free Ask Us Anything session with two people at different stages of their practice investigating the same question. And then we invite you to join us with any questions or comments that you might have. Visit www.qiological.com/practice to sign up and join us in this conversation. When you're looking for herbs, tools, and supplies to guide your patients through life's transitions, you need quality you can trust. Lhasa OMS offers an unmatched selection of acupuncture needles for every style, herbs from all your favorite manufacturers, and everything else you need to run your clinic with confidence. Visit LhasaOMS.com to source the herbs and other supplies featured in this series. Use the code FERTILE15 for 15% off your next purchase at LhasaOMS.com. Some exclusions apply. See website for details. That's it for this episode of Shop Talk. Did you learn something that brought a patient to mind? Don't keep a good thing to yourself. Share it with a friend. They'll be happy that you did. And tune in again for our next episode of Shop Talk.